Well, now to the latest on that horrific strike on an aid convoy in Syria, which killed 20 members of a UN aid mission and destroyed desperately needed food and medical supplies. The US government is now blaming Russia for the strike, saying Russian warplanes were in the air above Aleppo at the time. But Russia denies this, saying there's no evidence the trucks were hit from the air. The UN has been forced to suspend all aid shipments until an investigation is carried out, as Anne Barker reports.
The attack has sparked the strongest condemnation around the world, a flagrant violation of the laws of war, says the Red Cross, a possible war crime, says the United Nations. The UN Secretary-General, Ban Ki-moon, was particularly blunt.
Just when we think it cannot get any worse, the bar of depravity sinks lower. Yesterday's sickening, savage, and apparently deliberate attack on a UN Syrian Arab Red Crescent aid convoy is the latest example.
Initially, the UN, the US and the Red Cross all said it was an airstrike that destroyed 18 of the 31 aid trucks, killing around 20 people. The US has gone further, squarely blaming Russia, saying there were Russian warplanes in the skies above Aleppo at the time. A White House security spokesman, Ben Rhodes.
All of our information indicates clearly that this was an airstrike. We hold the Russian government responsible, given that their commitment under the cessation of hostilities was to ground air operations in places where humanitarian assistance is flowing.
But now Russia's defence ministry has released drone footage it says is evidence the trucks caught fire during an incident on the ground. In a statement, it denies Russia or Syria was to blame.
Information on the whereabouts of the convoy was known by militants controlling the territory. Terrorists from the group formerly known as Al-Nusra Front launched a large-scale offensive in the area at the time the convoy was hit. Examination of footage from the site of the attack reveals no sign of any munitions hitting the convoy, nor any other indications that they were hit by an airstrike.
The UN and the Red Cross have since toned down their language, removing reference to an air attack. The UN says there's no conclusive evidence as to what really happened, but it says the attack appears to be deliberate and it suspended all aid shipments to Syria indefinitely. One UN spokesman, Jens Laerke, has demanded an immediate, impartial and independent investigation.
If this callous attack is found to be a deliberate targeting of humanitarians, it would amount to a war crime. The perpetrators should know that they will one day be held accountable for violations of international humanitarian and human rights law.
It's hard to see any new ceasefire emerging in the wake of Monday's attack. Syrian forces have already declared the one-week truce over and resumed their own airstrikes. Russia says the accidental bombing of Syrian soldiers by US-led forces was also to blame. Yet talks are continuing in New York to revive the ceasefire. White House spokesman Ben Rhodes.
We need to continue to determine whether or not the cessation of hostilities can continue. The preference is to see if it can, given that it offers right now the best opportunity to provide for an opening to reduce the violence and address the humanitarian concerns.
As the war of words and war on the ground continue, tens of thousands of Syrians remain trapped in Aleppo with dwindling supplies of food and medicine.
Anne Barker reporting.